Good Sunday evening, Lawton. I'm Garrett Jackson, and welcome to the Sunday Evening Crier. Leading off tonight, City Council picks Ward 1 representative. They appoint James Lane Hooton to serve as Ward 1 councilperson, and that will be effective September 23rd, 2025. He will serve the unexpired term of Mary Ann Hankins Booker, who resigned back in August. September 9th was Election Day. 2 city charter amendments were on the ballot. The first one we're going to discuss is Proposition 2. The proposed change was to extend new city employees' probation from 6 to 12 months. This was seen as a way to give supervisors more time to evaluate performance before employees gain full protections. That failed. 50.8% of the citizens of Lawton who voted no, and 49.2% voted yes. It was a close call. City leadership may revisit this issue a little later, but that may or may not happen. Moving to Proposition 1, True North Charter Amendment. This received an overwhelming amount of support with 69.2% voting yes. This adds the city's True North culture statement to the city charter, making it a permanent guide for city leadership. City council elections also took place in addition to the city charter changes. Beginning with Ward 3, Kirby Brown wins with 54.6% of the votes. He gathered 177 votes to beat his closest competitor, Charlie Pullman. Mr. Brown stated in his campaign improving infrastructure, especially roads, and addressing absentee landlords and neglected properties as priorities. He also indicated closely reviewing the city budget to ensure spending reflects community needs also as a priority. Pivoting to Ward 4, we're going to have a runoff between incumbent George Gill and Tiffany Dimery. Gill gathered 218 votes, and Tiffany Dimery gathered 247 votes. Neither one gathered the appropriate number of votes to win, so this will go into a runoff. Expect more about this later on this year. And Ward 5, incumbent Allan Hampton wins with 63.4% votes. That's 151 votes cast. And Mr. Hampton is going to continue in his role as Ward 5 City Councilman. Prior to the start of any of the big meetings on Tuesday night at the City Council meeting, a special City Council meeting was held to install Tarron Epps as the Ward 2 council member. He was appointed earlier in the month, and his swearing-in marks the start of a new term of service. Epps is joining the council to represent Ward 2 residents and their priorities in City Hall. The City Council, talking from the dais, along with Mayor Stan Booker, addressed the public comment policy with an agenda item. Mayor Booker, in his own words,
"Now, Council, the reason that I put Council Policy 1-6 on there is I believe that audience participation has become not what it was intended to be. I think it was probably intended to be, and certainly what we want everybody to do, is come when there's a problem and citizens believe that they're not getting what they need from the city, such as a water line fixed or something with the trash pickup. Or I remember two individuals that came from the same block and said the bad guys have taken over the block. And those are the things that we want to hear. so that we can go address those things. Things that in an organization this size, unfortunately, the citizen felt like it fell through the crack. I don't think the idea of audience participation was ever to be political comments, but that's what it's turned into, is weaponization. And I agree with the term being used of weaponization. To come during audience participation and attack the council member that was duly elected and sat in that seat during a campaign season, anytime really, but during a campaign season especially, I don't believe is what it's all about. And I don't think that the True North statement is violated by us controlling the meeting and conducting the citizens' business. And I've seen a number of times when the whole meeting has taken on a different attitude because of the actions during the audience participation. Now, from that, I think we need to reconsider, and I asked the clerk's office to check with our peers and see what our peers do, and then I think we need to discuss what our options are, because I think it's been something that's just become to disrupt, and frankly, I'm just going to say it, this will be on Facebook in 10 seconds, I think it's become, people want their 3 minutes of fame. And I think we're just given the opportunity and feeding it. I want to repeat something. Every member that's up here, with the exception of Tarron, was put here by the citizens. And Tarron was put here under the requirements of the charter. But the people that come during audience participation are political, typically against those individuals here. Now, I'm going to ask the clerk to give me a report from what she's learned.
One of the things noted by Mayor Booker is that a lot of the comments have been political. He mentions Facebook, and of recently, social media has played an important part in the political process. One of the things noted by this reporter is that the Open Meetings Act and Open Records Act gives some latitude to the way city governments conduct themselves in their meeting. I'm now going to play for you the clip of the city clerk with her report to the council.
Yes, sir. So in researching our 6 peer cities, what I found is that Norman, Moore, Midwest City, and, just those 3 do audience participation the same way that we do. Broken Arrow has citizens submit their comments online, and then they're read into the record at the meeting. And Edmond does almost the same that we do, except they have public participation at the end of the meeting.
As you can see by the results that the city clerk published at the meeting, there are a variety of different ways that this can be addressed. One of the big issues that was brought up by new councilperson, Mr. Epps. His comments are what follows.
If I may, I know I'm the new kid on the block, so I will think about what I'm saying. And what I'll say is this. I don't think, here's what we have to understand, is that when we do personal attacks against council, you then restrict the pool of people that will want to run. And there may be really good people that want to run, but then they see that and they say, I'll pass on that. So I'll say that. That is something that I think the citizens have to understand. But the other part to it is, and I think Councilman Warren touched on it, is the citizens need to have a clear understanding of how to bring up a grievance if Councilman Epps is seen running down the street streaking, if you've seen that old school show. But in all seriousness, I think that there has to be a fully understood process to escalate grievances if Councilman Epps has done something that could be questionable. And I know there is a process. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure that everyone understands the process.
Councilman Epps makes a very interesting comment about finding someone who might want to run for city council. One of the things about being an elected official that can be observed is that you are not liked by everyone. And finding someone who wants to take on that role becomes difficult if you are constantly attacked. The Lawton Fort Sale Economic Development Corporation gave its annual highlights or its fiscal briefing to the City Council, and they highlighted that there is $30 billion plus in projects that are working their way through Lawton, bringing a total of 15,000 plus jobs, anchored by Firehawk Aerospace and Westwind Elements. There have been 9 site visits with serious investors, and that particular topic would require its own podcast, but the information is available at lawtontowncrier.com. To include, you can download the PDF of the presentation whenever you choose. One thing to note really quick is that on the City Council agenda was also a brief discussion about audits, and there was some discussion on that. I am working on a story dealing with audits right now. More to come on that. So I don't want you to watch the City Council meeting and thought that I forgot that, but that is coming along pretty quickly. Cameron installs a new president on September 9th. Dr. Shane Hunt becomes the 18th president of Cameron. Congratulations to Dr. Hunt. And finally, our week ahead in Lawton, starting with Monday, September 15th. The Comanche County Board of Commissioners meeting takes place at the county courthouse. Tuesday, September 16th, we have no city council meeting, but there are other meetings that are taking place throughout the week. Be sure to look at lawtonok.gov to find out what those meetings are. Thursday, September 18th and Friday, September 19th, the Lawton Public Library has a couple programs going on, Making Moolah, First Lego League, and Paper Rockets. Tuesday, also, don't forget the city Lawton's Farmer Market has Food Truck Tuesdays. And September 20th, we also have the Lawton Farmers Market, as Councilman Hampton always puts out. That's in his ward from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Museum of the Great Plains also on Saturday has its Eyes on the Universe exhibit that takes place from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Family-friendly STEM activities. And Friday, September 26th through Sunday, September 28th, that's next week, not this coming week, but I want you all to be aware that the 46th Annual International Festival in Elmer Thomas Park is taking place. Please make sure to have plans to attend. There's going to be a lot of good food, a lot of good music, and a lot of good things going on in our community. That concludes this week's Sunday Evening Crier. I know that I was probably a little late putting this out tonight, but as you can see, I did a lot more to try to get this show going. As I continue to learn, I please ask for a little bit of grace on the mistakes that I make. This is still new to me, even though I've done it before. So I appreciate you all tuning in. Lawton Town Crier is an independent news and commentary project. Information presented is for educational and informational purposes only. While every effort is made to express accuracy, no warranty is expressed or implied. Views expressed are those of the presenter, which is me, Garrett Jackson, and do not necessarily represent the City of Lawton, Comanche County, or any other institution. I thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And until I see you next week on the Sunday Evening Crier, I want you to have a wonderful week, and thank you very much.